And as I was leaving, one of our clients, Charlotte, she gave us the Virgin by Design book. And the last page is a quote that says, "Virgin still thinks of themselves as a cheeky startup." We were leaving to go to the pitch and I took a photo of it and I just put that as the last slide. As we were finishing our pitch, you say you're the cheeky startup. We are that cheeky startup. We are the startup alumni. And they were saying, all right, fine, okay, stop tugging our heartstrings.
Hi, and welcome to Space by Stansons. Today, I really look forward to this one, actually, because when I first met, I'm with Dicky Lewis from White Red Architects. He's a co-founder with his co-founder, Joe.
And Jesus as well. Yeah, there's three of us.
Three of you. Okay, well, welcome, Dicky.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
I've been really excited to chat to Dicky because when we first met, everything about the meeting, it felt like I was looking at myself. Your energy and everything, and you were like, "I've got to go to another meeting. I'm so sorry, I forgot about it."
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so pleased someone else did that to me. I was like, brilliant. I want to just chat to you, and I always have to write down a little, some topics I want to pick up just from our chat and something that I think is really interesting. But Dicky, White Red Architect, set that up. One of the things I picked up from you, straight on, getting straight into it, you're dyslexic, dyslexia. Talk to me about that, because I'm totally on.
Yeah,
hearing other people's stories.
Yeah. I mean, I think it seems to be quite common and prevalent within architects on a kind of neurodivergent range. But dyslexia, I was diagnosed quite young. Looking back, I was probably about 12. My sister had been diagnosed before me. And then it was kind of a stigma back in those days. So I remember her having to take these massive brain pills and all these very dramatic things to try and overcome it. But it was my art teacher and English teacher that worked together and said, "We think Dicky's not quite on it in English and he seems to just want to be in the art studio." So it's quite nice to be diagnosed so early. But it was amazing to have had that art teacher to, he said something to me, which actually came full circle more recently, was that, there's actually another dyslexic Dicky and he hasn't done too bad. And that was Richard Branson. So it was, from that young age, it was really amazing to have had that diagnosis, but also have had that inspiration. And then which did lead full circle to us doing Virgin's headquarters, which, super proud of.
That's a pretty wicked comeback, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do think with today, with people, I mean, I don't think we talk about it enough, but I do think with today, we're talking about it more. It is more inspiring. It's not such a stigma.
I mean, it really is. It can be skewed as a superpower. There's definitely some personality typologies and strengths within the typical dyslexic that actually it's really useful in certain elements. So it's definitely not negative.
Yeah. How do you feel like it does shape you? How do you feel like you might lead differently or design differently?
It's always hard to self-evaluate, but I definitely have focus and attention issues, which is kind of obviously at school, looking back on my own course, it's quite shocking, but I see it now as kind of the pace and the cadence of how I'm getting through processes and ideas. I think that's kind of that instigation that has really helped White Red or helps in business. And we often heard joke between Jesus and I, one of my co-founders, Jesus, he's more of an implementer and I'm more of an instigator. And then Joe almost sits perfectly somewhere in between. And that instigation and implementation, you kind of can't have one without the other, because it's just full on instigating and never getting anywhere. It's probably where I would be without that support and help. That's what I think, I found that with being dyslexic, I found that kind of lack of attention span and focus, that you can actually use it to advantage in exploring ideas and testing things. So yeah.
I know what you mean. After a little bit, it kind of gets boring.
Yeah.
It drops off and you're onto the next.
Fabs I've done, I think my wife was joking once about me. I was desperate to set up a business from an early age. And then, I was almost getting frustrated with not being able to set up my practice quickly. So I was like, maybe I'll just set up a house painting business. And my wife was like, what is wrong with you? Just stick to the path, keep going. Why you don't know anything about house painting? You listen to a podcast and you're like, right, great idea. So you need people around you to help support and focus you. But that's definitely some positives.
I do think it brings out there is an energy, or maybe to take risks and something like that, which is positive, right?
Yeah. I think that risk taking, it's almost, you just assume everyone else is the same. So that's why sometimes you kind of feel, it's like Joe and Hezzy look at me and they're kind of like, okay. And I just assume that's what everyone thinks. And so there is that element of, I guess, they call it thinking outside the box. But yeah, I think that is common as well.
Has it ever been like a barrier or a disadvantage where it's kind of pushed you back today?
I think, I was lucky to have had extra time in exams. And
Did you even use it?
Yeah, I did. That's the thing. The thing is, though, I think you could just fill the time, don't you? But, and I think I was just slow at writing, to be honest. I'm a left-hander as well. I smudge everything. So I remember the days that we actually switched from pencils to fountain pens at primary school, being like, what the hell? It was just a big smudge. But I think, the extra time was really helpful in the exams. So maybe if I hadn't had that, then maybe I would have been more disadvantaged. Who knows? But knowing that I was supported was really helpful. And I never felt it. I never felt disadvantaged. And it was almost I never even noticed that I was that bad at spelling. It wasn't even about math. It was just more working in a different way and mostly kind of focus and attention.
Got 25% extra time on all my exams, but I never.
What do you want to use it for?
Yeah, and all these kids were getting up and walking out because they were finished. And I was like, what? And I got to stay here? Like, seriously? Like, don't worry, I won't finish it by now.
There's nothing worse than extra time. I remember physics AS level being like, I don't need extra time for this. I've failed it already.
Yeah, I can remember. Yeah, definitely there was an exam that I had that.
But I think school is a good example. It's the education system is hundreds and hundreds of years old, and it's tailored for the Industrial Revolution. That era. It hasn't really evolved since then. And so I think with the prevalence and the understanding of neurodiversity, it's, looking back, school probably wasn't the right format for me traditionally. So I do look at my reports. I apologize to my mum, a few years ago, just looking back, I'm so sorry. Like, looking at these, it must have been a nightmare. And I had my first parents' evening with my son. I had almost PTSD from going to parents' evening. He was only 2 3/4, and so I was like, I don't know what I'm nervous about. But it's just because I used to hate parents' evening, and my parents would come home and just be like, what the hell are you up to?
Oh, that's interesting. And you touched on Richard Branson, so I want to pick up on that because you did. I don't know if we will be able to get pictures of version 2 to like share with this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be wicked. But yeah, how did that all come about? How did you get the brief? How did you get the opportunity?
Yeah, so originally we were introduced to the Virgin team. They were looking at just doing a small refurbishment. So I think we pitched first to help with this very small job. And that then suddenly, they came in and they said, good news and bad news. The bad news is this: we've got to cancel this job. It's stopping. I thought, what's the good news there? And the good news was that they're actually looking at their kind of procuring their own headquarters. But there was a kind of kicker in that, is that you have to re-pitch again. And because it's a way bigger job, it's not a given at all that you're going to get this. So it was kind of back to the table with pitch mode again. We were so happy to even got the first opportunity to work for Virgin. And so the second one was really the main pitch, and that's where we threw everything at it. And honestly, it meant a lot to me and also to us as a team. Mm-hmm. I also did the Virgin Startup Accelerator before, as part of setting up White Red. Mm-hmm. So we were part of the startup alumni. So we really pitched our hearts out and said we will do everything to make this successful and work. And we are that cheeky startup that you think of yourselves as. It was an amazing pitch process because it was the first pitch where we just did everything we could think of to try and win it. And it was really great when we did win it. It was just so exciting, but we had a mammoth task ahead of us because it was full on. It was a big project. They were the owner and occupier, so they owned the building and then they're also about to occupy it. So not easy. There's a few issues along the way, but it was incredible to build relationships and friendships as well with the Virgin team. Even now they're coming to our drinks this week and keep in touch, and they've been so kind to let us show some of our clients and other team around the space constantly. They have thousands of gigs around there, so we know a lot of them really well. But yeah, it was a challenging project for us as a business as well to learn from. But at the end of the day, it was a brilliant result. They're really happy. So Richard's happy. And they're continuing to evolve in the space as well, which is what we wanted. And the challenges that we had and that project we've learnt a lot from, and I don't think we're the same practice that we were before that, so it's a good thing.
And you said you threw everything at the brief, like what were you doing?
Even, really tugging in the heartstrings. Even as we were leaving, we were testing how different presentation styles, and it was not PowerPoint, it was the Apple version of Apple Slides. Keynote. So that was an era where Joe and I were just doing everything on Keynote, so we could almost do the pitch on the way still, so it was still being iterated. And as I was leaving, as part of the first pitch, which was lovely, one of our clients, Charlotte, she gave us the Virgin by Design book. And the last page of that is a quote that says, "Virgin still thinks of themselves as a cheeky startup." And we were leaving to go to the pitch, and I took a photo of it, and I just put that as the last slide. And as we were finishing our pitch, I was like, yeah, you say you're the cheeky startup. We are that cheeky startup. We are the startup alumni. And they would say, all right, fine. Okay. Like, stop tugging our heartstrings. But no, it was just anything we could do to show our commitment to that project. And we were using videos, we were CGIs as much as we could, and ideas. And then just rehearsing the presentation as well. Just rehearse. Thinking about what you wear, everything. It was just every single detail we tried to work through.
But it's like when you're like interviewing someone for a position and they come in and they've got that kind of energy or that like alignment. And you're like, oh, okay, wicked. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I think typically what's the biggest point and what some of these clients are looking at as well when we pitch is, are they going to get on well with the team? A lot of projects that we pitch for, they say we want to see some of the team members as well. So, it's very important. We're all, human, and we need to make sure, and especially on construction jobs, it's a long journey. When you do encounter difficulties, you want to hopefully understand that you're going to get on and work well with those people. Yeah. And it works both ways as the client team and consultant team. We got to gel to make it successful.
And what were the challenges?
Well,
how did you change or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. The main few, the building itself, there was quite a few discoverables. They'd bought a building in Fitzrovia off of Whitford Street. It's completely gutted. It was, a shell. And there were some structural issues that were just discoverables of what the condition was. So that was eating into the capital expenditure before we'd even got started on the interior. So there's things happening there. Yeah, but I think also as a multi-headed organisation, Virgin isn't just Sir Richard's. It's lots of different companies and lots of different stakeholders, which was also incredible for us because we were liaising with the sustainability team, the diversity inclusion team, the operational teams, all of those different facets of the company to try and make sure we fulfilled the brief. So that was a challenge at the same time as it was a great opportunity. And then even as our own practice, we are unashamedly a startup set up by the 3 founders that we're still finding our way in running our business, and especially in architecture practice. Yeah. So, we had some really amazing team members undertake that project, and also some also join us along the way, which really helped as well. So yeah, it was just full of learnings, and full of, we're still doing the kind of post-match analysis to this day of how we did it and how we can improve that. We're trying to do that on every project as well.
I was actually talking about that for us, as well, the projects, I know, looking into them. It's going to be so time absorbing, can't it? And I talk about you have a good idea, this would be wicked. Yeah. Trying to dig into it and just that kind of what went well, or didn't go well, how you can get better.
Yeah, you have to be, the key is actually dedicating the time to do it. We even struggled to do that, but we have an incredible leadership team who work with us on this and make sure that it's meticulously analysed. Most of our team come from large practices, so they're kind of taking what they've learned from those. But also you have to be super honest with what went wrong. It's not about who did what. It's genuinely about, if we can learn from this, then White Red will be a better organisation. So let's not try and throw anyone under the bus at all. It's just about what went wrong, what could we have improved. Yeah, so it's about being honest, really. And we're keen to try and learn on every job. Even midway, 3/4 of the way through, we need to just try and make sure we're doing a great job. If we're not in certain areas, is there something we can do to help overcome that. Because at the end of the day, our reputation at the moment is everything. If we don't get this right now, we don't have a foundation to build on. So,
and there's no wiggle room, is there?
Yeah, exactly that. As much as you want to kind of pump out marketing and social media and all of those fluffy elements, the reality is, especially in our market, it's a very small world, and we really care about our reputation and making sure that we're perceived well. And it's our biggest fear is it just spreading like wildfire, and if we've not done a great job. So yeah, I think because we are that startup mentality, every single opportunity is golden.
And you still hold that now?
Yeah, absolutely.
We managed to keep that, like, as well as we scaled, like.
Yeah.
Are you still a startup? Like, can you claim that?
Yeah. I don't know when you stop it. So I used to be very at the beginning of White Red. We were always used to map our competitors and how big they were, how many years they've been in practice, and we were just obsessed with kind of the size. And I think we've really become to understand that actually it's not about the size of the team, or it's more about the delivery and the quality and also the potential that we can achieve as well. So we've adjusted our metrics of what success is, and I guess we still have that startup mentality because we are still punching above our weight in certain opportunities, and we're still competing with the bigger practices. So we have to think like that. There's also that balance of letting yourself enjoy it, and I think that's what I've started to try and work on a bit more as well. Is the reality is that our practice is a lifestyle business. It's not a tech scalable startup that's gonna 100x and when you exit. This is a business that we need to enjoy and go on the journey with for our lives, and enjoy the work, enjoy working with the team, and enjoy working with other consultants and suppliers.
I think that's a really good message, not just to founders and directors, but also to everybody. Like, if you're in this, you're in a really enjoyable, you're tangibly making a difference to people's everyday.
Yeah.
And like, it's so much more than just a transaction. And
yeah, I think, it's so easy to, I think everyone does it. They want to almost push off, I'll get fit later, or I'll get wealthy later, and I'll do this, like marketing later. And it's something that we're trying to work on, is just making sure that we're living it in the moment. And if we won a pitch recently, go and celebrate it and enjoy the moment, and then you get cracking on it. And if there's bad times, then you overcome them. And so it is that roller coaster you've got to kind of settle into.
It's not long as well, but a bit of feast and famine in projects. So like, it's wicked, and if you don't celebrate then, like, soon you're back down here.
Oh yeah, I know, and that's the thing. And you just look back and you regret not celebrating, and I think it also doesn't really help the culture of the team as well if you don't stop. So yeah, it's difficult because everyone's head down and busy. If you're not careful, then suddenly you can lose a lot.
Was that a moment with Sir Richard that you had, or throughout the project with his team or something like that, which changed your mindset?
That second pitch, that was the one where when we won it, we knew that we'd actually overcome some bigger competitors that, we really had a lot to prove there. I think our mindset then turned into, we've got to absolutely nail this and really deliver and over deliver. So, that's where our mindset switched from that way, so excited to get this opportunity, to like, okay, you actually not got, that's a two-work.
Oh crap.
Yeah. and even say, okay, it went almost from how can we be meticulous about everything in the pitch to how can we make our studio an amazing place for them to come to. We had things like the first meeting we had, for some reason, a couple of us were late. The studio was open at 2 minutes past 9, and had a couple of the clients stood outside our studio, and it was like mortifying that had happened, and it's all our fault because of certain systems and principles. And so after that, we did a lot of changing of how we make sure the studio is open, warm, ready, on time for the meetings, and set up and smells great, and all those little touches that that translated all the way through. So that also the way we actually deliver the work as well. So
I love the honesty, Dicky, because everyone's done that. Like, there's no place.
I'm mortified.
I know, I get it.
It's even worse when you're bed down, you're opening the shutters and they're stood there and they're fine. They're absolutely, but you just, inside is just dying and livid as well. You're like, what's happened?
Something happened yesterday that I was just so like, oh, I wish a big hole was swallowed. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's just so,
It's funny, you probably ask the other parties and they wouldn't even notice. And it's just, but that's a good example of all the way through that project. I think we had lots of those moments where we realised we needed to step it up, and the project managers we worked with, we had really great relationship with them, and we had moments where we had to sit down and work through things with them, and both come out as a better team and a team for the project. So worked really well with the contractors. They were brilliant. They helped us overcome lots of issues, and at the end of the day, it felt like that project, everyone worked really well to try and preserve the quality for the client. Mm-hmm. So it's a lovely success story, and it was a tricky journey.
But I love that it was a success story, but with learnings and challenges.
Yeah,
it makes it more like wholesome and real. Did you ever get any direct communication or speak face to face with Sir Richard?
So I mean, when we've completed, so Richard came and had a look around, and it was myself and Charlotte and our client who showed him around and showed him everything. And it was funny because it was not quite finished. It was just PC day number 3, so practical completion, and all the lights were at 100% luminescence and lux level, whereas they were meant to be tailored and dimmed down, and it's the DALI system which hadn't been set up right. So he's just going around be like, hey, yeah, great, but it's really bright. But like, it's not going to be like this, don't worry about it. He just kept on saying it's really bright. So it was one of those moments you're like, oh, for God's sake, this is more tonight. But overall, he loved it, and it was quite cool because he'd been out the night before with Nile Rodgers and like opening his hotel in Shoreditch, so he's a little bit hungover or tired, and so
like, he thought it was bright.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I should have some sunglasses. But it was really lovely to show him around. It was obviously a dream come true to even meet him, and we sat down on the sofa and had a little chat. And someone said, "He's the dyslexic architect," and he actually ended up writing an article about the dyslexic architect that did hit their headquarters. So it was really nice as well, because I wrote an article about that on their intranet, and he picked it up and kind of wrote his own version of it as well. And then it was really lovely last Christmas. I came back in January, and one of his team got in touch. Oh, so Richard wanted to send you something, and I was like, what? Amazing. And then they said, oh, it's a handwritten note, and it was this amazing card from Necker Island, Sir Richard Branson, and just, thank you, Dicky, for our headquarters and your team. Yeah, I really appreciate our new headquarters. And it was just like a handwritten note that kind of shocked me that he'd taken that time out, his time, his precious time to do something, so courteous. It was really inspiring about, where he was, of the impact he could have on other people. That was a massive moment. So that whole process of finishing the job, on behalf of obviously our amazing team, it was a little bit of a kind of imposter syndrome that you have of, why is it P in front of him, and getting those notes, you feel a little bit guilty with that. But I think the reality is that it's about representing what White Red team have done, and him recognising that, the hard work.
And it's similar for him as well, isn't it? Because, he's an incredible entrepreneur, don't get me wrong. He's got a great team as well, right? Yeah, he does definitely, he's the face of the brand.
Yeah.
Sense. And so, yeah, no, I get it. I get how you feel, but I think he's in a similar situation.
Yeah.
In some ways too.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what's incredible about Virgin really is that they said that they're the custodians of brands. So Virgin almost nurture and look after Virgin Hotels or Virgin Atlantic, or I think, they obviously blossomed out of the initial Sir Richard Branson twisting and kind of making that opportunity. But they actually are now then licensed operations with it under the Virgin brand. Mm-hmm. So quite incredible when you think of it in that way, is that actually the organisation itself of Virgin is actually just a brand that licenses its brand guidelines to these incredible businesses. So yes, even that, understanding that is quite incredible. And the predominance that he puts in people as well, and he empowers people to undertake amazing things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a lot to be learned from someone like him.
That does always bring up something I love asking, like architects, interiors, anyone doing that work. How do you make a space actually work really well for people, not just look pretty for the photos?
Yes, it is the classic dilemma that we all want as architects and designers. You want the first thing is for it to feel like you imagined and you want it to look. But that, again, probably learning from a few of our projects where we've worked with operators and brands, is that you really have to work with them to understand what is going to make it successful for them and learn from them, so that ironically it ends up improving your design. It's not about trying to be the diva that just tells them what they should have and just ramming it down the throat. It's just learning from the people in the team and asking, knowing when to ask questions, who to ask them, and how to learn from that feedback as well. I think is something that we, working with brands, like we were working with Brunswick at the moment, and we were working with Virgin and a couple of other, we've worked with Google as well before, understanding them and their operations and what they require has really helped our work with the landlord clients as well, to understand how you can refurbish a potential office that's going to attract kind of those tenants and what they're looking for. So we really find those two different types of clients definitely complement each other.
You're almost providing on the landlord some like end of the road insight, if you know.
Well, it's like these guys are actually doing this and they like this, and that's what we did here. So with a Cat A space, what could we do to almost attract potential occupiers into the space that is going to make it more efficient to do the Cat A works, so that it's easier to plug in those occupiers.
I also think that's a really good point in terms of sustainability, and not just being like a wild tree hugger, but just cut out some waste.
There's an initiative that I recently was a little bit part of, a little bit busy at the moment, so I haven't been as active, but John McRae from Orms has helped set up End Cat A Waste, which is trying to educate some of the kind of operators and landlords that, is it really necessary to put a load of lighting in that's going to be stripped out, day one because it's not the right lighting? And, do we need to think about how we put in servicing and all of those materials that we know we put in to kind of create that canvas for an empty office that then we know is going to be stripped out and not reused. And I think there's a long way to go before people can really say that it's not necessary, because I think the market doesn't seem to be ready to comprehend empty buildings without lighting, without kind of Cat A finished. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting discussion, but ending that waste feels so easy, but at the same time it feels so far away from it.
I mean, I know it's super simplifying it, but you thought saying that be a boggle, that's way like that fix the problem forever, but like clearly not.
Yeah. I mean, there's some great initiatives out there. Modus are developing a system which has iterations of gaming software, basically, that you can actually feel the space and have very interactive models, and I think that's a really good step towards it. I know we used a lot of VR before, and it wasn't really at all anywhere near that sense of feeling the space. So yeah, I think I just think it's got a journey to get on before we get there, but there must be a better solution out there.
I mean, I love sustainability and like designing out waste and being careful. I must admit, I couldn't claim to be as active as some of the people out there in terms of what they do. Like, I do look after some people and like, wow, you do a lot, but I can't claim to be one of them. But at the same time, I do just like designing out waste and being considerate and careful, and it's no extra work. It's actually often a cost saving anyway.
Well, also we felt that as well. So we get asked a lot, what's our stance and our ethos on ESG and sustainability, and we kind of a few years ago adopted the very small incremental steps that we can actually tangibly do, instead of just trying to do these massive juggernaut things that actually we can't actually even have an impact on. So things like picking finishes that are upcycled or recycled content, or looking or exploring that different materiality, trying to specify furniture which has cradle to cradle circularity ethos embedded into it. And then even we worked on a project recently in Fitzrovia, the garage, where we used a ductwork system which we stole from swimming pools, and it was a little bit bold actually to put it into a commercial project. It hadn't really been tested in London commercial as we knew it, and it was great because a lot of ductwork you see is all the metal ductwork, and we've had a lot of experience where it's not quite configured right for the occupier coming in, so it's just stripped out and redone again, and that's a big carbon footprint, and it's also quite hard to reconfigure. So we looked at that swimming pool actual product, and it's basically like a sock around a metal coil, which has a lot of benefits as well, and as well as aesthetic looks nice. It was a custom RAL color and a peach color. Has an even distribution of in the actual air, so there's no need for the swell location, so you get hot and cold spots. It's easy to clean. It's really easy to reconfigure because it's the weight of almost a lighting track. So it's almost kind of like a no-brainer. But that was quite forward thinking in a way, and did reduce the carbon footprint and had a tangible result, which is actually there to see. So there's those sorts of things that we've been focusing our efforts on. Even this, you can see this can't stop there. This is lovely. It's a upcycled wood content, and you see things like this, and the story behind it gives it more impact. And I think as humans, we respond to that storytelling as well behind our products. And so it's not even just the literal benefit of reusing or recycling, it's also the story behind it that people really kind of respond to.
I think people quite like that it's so I had a previous life for that. I mean, like that air conditioner. I mean, I know because we worked in that building as well, and I saw I've actually seen it done a bit more now, like Farmer J are doing that sort of cut, that sort of thing. But at the time, it was probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
it was really like shocking. It's also a cool way.
Yeah, it's also just the looks. When it's not on, it's not inflated. So I would say it's like those wibbly wobbly waving men. So it sounded cool. So if it's not on, then it obviously is like, what the hell is that? But then as soon as it's inflated, it gets rigid. And I think it's just understanding. If you just see it, then obviously it looks what it looks like. But understanding what's behind that product and the selection, and we worked really hard with the MEP engineer to make sure that it's correct. And we made it a little more expensive by choosing a RAL custom color, which actually we didn't end up needing to. We shouldn't have done it that way, but he learned from that. So the next time, but there's no silver bullets, and we shouldn't pretend there are. So if we can just keep trying to make little increases and incremental improvements, I think that's our ethos at the moment. So give yourself a break.
No, I love the chat. It's been brilliant. The time always flies. I do want to grab a question off you before we go, and that, Dicky, is what music do you listen to when you're trying to concentrate or when you've got a big pitch on?
Great question, because I think at the moment I've been really into my binaural beats.
What is that, instrumental, do you mean?
Well, so I mean, it seems to be a certain frequency of very instrumental, and I think it's melodic music. And you can find different playlists, binaural beats. They have kind of focus binaural beats, or relaxing or stress relieving ones. And I just find I used to listen to Brain FM, which was like a similar ethos, which just kind of zones you out. It's like a trance. But that's the one that I find really helpful. It is common, kind of the ADHD and dyslexic neurodiverse community often talk about those kind of focused music playlists. But I really find that really useful, or something like a Hans Zimmer instrumental, like film music, just to kind of uplift you. That's my focus music. But day to day, I've always been into kind of more rock and dad rock, I think it's called now, like the 70s. And I had to make sure that I don't have my Spotify on the office Sonos, because we've got too many younger team members who are like, what the hell is this? It's so dated. It's definitely not correct for the office, but that's kind of what I listen to mainly.
Oh, that's good, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. It's great to hear about dyslexia and how that impacted at Virgin and the projects, and being so honest with some of the challenges as well. I think it's really refreshing. So appreciate your time, Biff.
No worries. Thanks very much.
And obviously, if you're listening in, we'll try and flick up some of the pictures of Virgin and that air conditioning ducting as well, because it is really cool. It'd be good for people to see it. So if you're on YouTube, then you can definitely have a look and do the whole review and follow thing. We appreciate it. Thanks very much, guys.